Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the March 10th, 2021 Abington Finance Committee meeting. Tonight, we are continuing to meet with various departments in the town. As our agenda tonight, we have Abington CAM, the Abington Cable Access. We have the various town manager and town manager offices budgets, which will be presented both by our town manager, Scott Lambiase, and our Assistant Town Manager, Sue Moquin. And then we will have our regular scheduled business of liaison reports, correspondence, and reviewing of minutes. So we're going to get right to it tonight. We have with us from the Abington CAM Corporation, we have Lisa Bezanson, who is on the board of directors. We have Bob Kelly. Bob, are you on the board of directors?
Yes, I am.
Bob is also on the board of directors. We do have in attendance Kevin Tossi, who is our director for Abington CAM, and we have Ethan, who's running the meeting for us. Bonus that he gets a shout out this time. He's often here with us running the meetings and silently in the background. Lisa, why don't you take it away and give us where things are at with Abington CAM this year?
Okay, thank you for having me. I didn't realize until just this afternoon that there were any questions from any of the Finance Committee members. And stop me if my screen freezes, because I've had trouble with that in the past and I can't tell from here. So please let me know if it does. But so I sent out an answer to the FinCom members' questions in the form of an email, and I would like to share that email here in case there's somebody that hasn't read it. And for the people at home, this is what I had to say. Abington Community Access and Media Incorporated is a private nonprofit corporation with a board of 5 directors. It is not a government entity. Abington CAM is a contractor licensed by the town to operate the cable access television studio and is funded by Comcast and Verizon through quarterly payments of franchise fees they collect from their cable television subscribers and forward to the town solely for the purpose of funding the public education and government PEG channels. Abington CAM is not funded by taxpayer funds collected by the town. The Comcast and Verizon franchise fees the corporation receives as reimbursement for studio expenses through the enterprise fund cannot be used for any other purpose. Since the Abington CAM Corporation was formed in 2009, prior to the establishment of the enterprise fund, the Comcast and Verizon franchise fees were paid directly to the corporation. Abington CAM currently has in the Abington Bank $479,833.38 in its checking account, $309,337.54 in one CD, and $310,391.65 in another CD, for a total of $1,999,562.57 in its corporate bank accounts. Abington CAM spent more than $450,000 building the studio in the new high school, and the remaining money in the bank is the corporation's stabilization fund that will be used to address any unforeseen costs, emergency repairs, upgrades to the playback system, equipment, and other such needs. Studio equipment generally has a 5 to 7 year lifespan, and the number of cable television subscribers, franchise fees, and PEG funding has been steadily dropping. Abington CAM has accumulated its savings because the studio was understaffed for many years compared to other cable access studios in our area with only 1 full-time employee. The corporation's accountant, hired in 2019, has filed tax returns from 2012 going forward, and the IRS Form 1023 501c3 request for tax-exempt status. We're waiting for the final 501c3 determination letter from the IRS. The budget Abington CAM submitted is an accounting of the studio's projected franchise fee expenditures through the enterprise fund and is not an ask for taxpayer funding. And so would you like me to go over the budget line by line, or how would you like to do that?
So
Any questions?
I think if you have any highlights, one of the things people like to bring in kind of highlights of what the department has been doing throughout the year, and maybe anything big that you might have coming up over the next year. After you do that, I will touch on, I want to touch on, between you and Sue, when we met to go, when we went over the budget last year, things were really in a weird state because it was in the process of transitioning. So just kind of a check-in on how the end of that fiscal year went, and how this current fiscal year has been going, and where we're at with that, if things have kind of stabilized more in the eyes of the Department of Revenue, I think is the biggest question that any of us will have, and then kind of open it up to questions from anybody else. Sure. So if you want to touch on some highlights.
Bob Kelly was waving to say something there, were you?
Yeah, Matt, I just want to go through the budget process that Lisa didn't mention, but I was a member of the budget subcommittee. We actually have a subcommittee to do the budget, and there never was a budget before.
Yep.
So we took the projected revenues of ABCAM for next year, and the revenues seem to be declining about 2% because of what's happening. But then we had COVID, so we don't know if they're going to go up or down. But we projected a revenue estimate of $268,850, and then we took and set that to line items. But again, we had no clue as to what the real answer was, and we ended up with a difference, and the difference is the $20,200. So we really think that if the town meeting appropriates $268,850, we should be all right, but we really don't know. But it's the first time, so it's a step in the right direction, Matt.
And Sue, I know you're muted, but
I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Barbara.
Yeah. You said there was a difference of 20,200. Would you use the savings to make up the difference?
Yes. Yeah. The savings would be beyond the 20,200. The 20,200 is the balance. What we think we're going to have is revenue, 268,000. Again, it's a new process, and hopefully next year we'll be better off. We'll actually know what's going on, but it's a good process, you know.
Yeah. What are the expenses?
The expenses right now are $248,500. You see, the town meeting has to approve one number for the enterprise fund.
Yeah, no, I understand.
And we think that we need $268,500, but we're not sure because there's never been a budget done. So we've come up with a budget that's within $20,000 of the total.
Okay. And so that people who are at home understand what had previously happened before, approximately a year and a half ago, is that the fees charged to Abington residents on their Verizon and Comcast bills previously were going directly to Abington Camp from Verizon and Comcast. The state made changes to require the money to be to go to towns, and for the town to bring it on from there to the local cable companies.
It's actually it's through the DOR, and it's not a mandate, it's a suggestion.
Okay. And so what happened was, a couple of town meetings ago, we set up essentially an enterprise account.
Yes.
And what we have to do as far as the town side is we have to appropriately approximate the money that will come in from those fees on our budget so that the Department of Revenue certifies our budget and certifies our free cash and makes sure that everything looks above board. And we have to be able to reliably state this is what is expected to come in this year based on what has come in the past.
Yeah.
And last year when we were going through this process, there were only a couple of checks that had come in. So we were in a really weird spot of trying to figure out what the exact revenue was going to be. It seems like we're in a bit of a better spot, but still with some questions up in the air this year, but that you guys are doing
Within 20,000, Matt.
doing a lot of work to try and make sure that you're covered either way on that. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if
Last year we
Sue-
put in $274,000. This year it's trending toward 268,
okay.
850.
So 274 last year, trending towards 268 this year. All right.
850.
It's
Yeah.
roughly decreasing by about 2% a year.
Yep. And that makes sense given the trends of people cutting the cord. And
Mhm.
But we don't know what's happening.
Is that
Justin?
is that decrease the pace of the decrease? Is that increasing? Meaning, could it
No.
be higher next year? 3%?
No, it's
4%?
It's been fairly steady.
No, it's actually been about 1.46, but we rounded it up to 2.
So you just like me to speak about each line of the budget?
Sure.
It starts on page 2, line 2.
Don't know if we have a copy of that.
No?
We get that today?
I looked through the
Matt, I
department
emailed
budgets
it to you earlier today.
Was that in the department budgets that you sent?
Yeah.
No.
Should-
Okay, hold on, let me.
Barbara,
There you
you're
go.
really
Barbara,
cutting
yeah,
out.
Barbara, you're breaking up on that. Sorry.
So that part that's squared off.
Yep, hold on a second. Let me share that document. Is this the right one, Sue?
There it is.
Yes.
Oh, all
So
right.
we're down on page 2. There we go, cable. Somehow I missed the writing on the side.
There it is. Yep. That's it. So salaries, that is salaries and the associated taxes, 155,300 for 2 full-time employees and 2 part-time employees, I believe. Salaries for the interns, we're projecting 10,000.
I need
a
bowl, but I see you're on
I can get you. Oh, wait a minute. Make sure I'm muted.
Salaries for the interns, we're projecting $10,000. Last year was our first full year of interns. And this year, I believe the minimum wage is $12.75 an hour. So that will be divided up over the course of the school year, starting from July to June. Health and dental is our executive director has health and dental insurance, and that is $10,200 projected for the year. It's increased slightly since we began with that. Studio rent, $30,000. We pay $7,500 a quarter directly to the Abington School Department. Postage, $100 projected for miscellaneous mailings. Professional fees, $5,250. That's based on this year's accounting service. It actually should be a little bit less like next year. We've got a lot of things going on. Website development, $1,500. I believe we're at a maintenance level now of $720 a year. The contingency is for equipment, $20,200. Studio equipment has a life expectancy of 5 to 7 years, and we're coming up on 4 years with the equipment we purchased when we built the new high school studio. So we'll be replacing things a little bit at a time. And also, I'll get to it later, but we're starting the process of looking into remodeling the Cotter room at Town Hall and putting cameras in the other meeting rooms. Office supplies, $5,000. Toner, copy paper, cleaning supplies. I'm not sure. I think that that might be a little bit high because of COVID-related expenses this year. Studio supplies, $6,000. That would be things like SD cards for recording, batteries, cables, whatever small kind of miscellaneous expenses. Repairs and maintenance, $2,000 is actually the engineer that helps us maintain our equipment. Dues, subscriptions, warranties at $9,000. A big part of that, I think it was like $4,500 this year, and it'll be a recurring expense, is the equipment warranty for the studio. There's a warranty that was new to us this year, even though the studio is a couple of years old.
Yeah.
Insurances, $7,400. That is liability insurance, directors and officers insurance, and workers' comp. And the transfer out at the bottom, $6,900, is the enterprise fund fee. I don't know why that total wasn't just for this department. I know it includes the selectmen's at the top of the budget, but our projected expenditure is $268,850, as we said.
Excellent.
And Matt, may I say something?
Absolutely, Bob.
The town just needs to approve the 268. We think that's what we need, but again, this function has never had a budget before, and it's never been part of the town because we never had an enterprise fund before. So that's why we have I call it the unallocated difference of $20,200. But we appreciate your consideration, and we appreciate you voting for it. And then as we go forward, we can figure out where we really need to be. But there's no tax impact on this, and we really want to have a facility that serves the students of the Abington High School and the town, and really do a good job. So we're just starting out, and hopefully you'll give us some support here.
Yep. And I will say, Bob, that you guys during the pandemic have done a very good job of broadcasting a lot of the school sports as they started happening, and various other things. It's been doing a very good service there.
Matt, can I clarify something?
Yep, Sue, hop on.
So the 578,951, it's a combination of the selectmen's account and the
I know
cable
that.
access, because there's two different funds there. And when I print my report through the software system, it reports it through the department level at the 1220 number, not at the fund number. So when you guys get it on the actual warrant, it will be separated out.
And that was why I missed it when I was scanning over the document like before the meeting.
Right.
It's because I looked at the department number and then I jumped to the next department and I missed that cable was included in part of the town manager department. So.
Come on, sir, you're better than that.
It's all about the software, Bob.
Yeah, you're right.
Barbara?
I was wondering if Abington incurred any additional expenses due to COVID this year. And follow up to that is, are you able to, or were you able to get any relief money from the extra incurred expenses?
We did. We've already been reimbursed for that. We spent $100,300 that was reimbursed through PCC, the Plymouth County Cares COVID relief.
Very
One of the big things they did was the high school graduation.
Yes.
Yep. So question to Sue, because I know when we were going over this last year, there were questions about the number that we were presenting for the enterprise fund. Are we good this year? You happy with where
Hopefully.
things are at this point?
The revenues are falling in target to what they are requesting.
Excellent.
Yeah, we
That's
spent a
what-
lot of time on that, actually, trying to figure out the revenues. And that's really what the town should appropriate.
Exactly.
Hopefully, we're right, but it's not a precise science.
Yeah. Barbara?
One more question. Do you guys have capital items? Do you have any how does that work with the ABCAM budget?
Barbara, you're
No.
still fading out. I'm losing 4 or 5 words out of your sentences.
So she was asking if they have capital items. My guess is that your capital items would come out of your own accounts, as you're not a.
Yes.
Yep. So.
As I said, we've just started looking into remodeling the studio equipment in the Carter room at Town Hall, and we'd like to put cameras in the other the smaller meeting rooms as well. Probably in the $40,000 to $60,000 range, I think, for the Carter room is the number that I keep hearing. We don't have anything firmed up yet on that.
Yep. I'll say from the few times that we've had to hold finance committee meetings in one of the smaller rooms,
Oh, yeah.
having more dedicated cameras in those rooms would be a nice thing to have.
Yeah.
I think Kevin has done a great job during the pandemic. I really do, guys, and I hope you appreciate it.
Mhm.
Absolutely, definitely.
I agree. Watched almost all of the feeds for the high
Yeah,
school
no,
boys
he's worked his-
basketball games.
He's worked very hard.
Oh. We have it's already paid for, but we have a new dedicated huddle camera in the gymnasium.
Yep.
That, as I understand it, actually follows the ball
Yeah.
and the activity in the gym.
Lisa, do you
Yeah.
want to explain just for anyone that's watching what the huddle camera is? The setup?
I don't know what huddle stands for, but it's a camera that's permanently mounted in the gym that as I understand it, the coaches can use it to review their games, and the studio uses it to record and broadcast sporting events, and they can actually commentate while it's happening and record it with the huddle. And it's been great so far. Follows the action pretty well, as I understand it, and
does.
it's been great. Yeah.
If you want me to just chime in real quick, in
Please.
regards to the huddle system, we actually have teamed up with the high school and the boosters to provide this. It's actually a camera that is mounted in the gymnasium that shoots high def video, provides audio. We're one of the few. We might be the only community that actually provides play-by-play through the huddle system itself. And it does incur an annual cost, but as you've seen, it's well worth the cost. We've moved on from basketball to now we got volleyball that's taking place in the gym. There is also a conversation about a part of this package. There's something that can be used outdoors, whether it's for soccer or football. The only problem is with football, the high school uses Memorial Field. Soccer would take place on the multi-purpose turf field. So that could be something that's discussed, but there would have to be a further discussion. But part of the package, though, is an outdoor component. So that's what the huddle system is, though. And what's even great is we've been able to also, other communities are using the system. So if some of our teams, if you've noticed and gone on to our YouTube channel, some of the away games, we've been able to pull those down, play them on the channel, and also put them on our YouTube channel. So all the parents, we've had great success with it so far.
It helps the kids too on the teams to be able to watch back the footage,
It does.
what they improve on or what they're doing really well at, or
And
Yeah,
it provides some of your kids, your interns, with really good opportunities to broadcast and to learn that side of things.
Yeah, and we actually had, so we had a great group of students that graduated in 2020, and we have four of the students that were left over. They've basically taken over. They filled in the role of last year's seniors, and behind them we have another group of juniors. We have 4 new juniors that have taken up the role and are learning how to operate the equipment, how to be in front of the camera. That's undergoing as we speak.
So, all right, does anyone have any other questions for any of the Abington Cam folks?
I do, just,
Chris.
This is Chris. Just thank you for the budget. We're way ahead of
Thank
where we
you.
were last year. So this is helpful. I just wonder, you're the most well-funded nonprofit I've ever seen. You've got 4 years of operating expenses in reserve.
Mhm.
That, most nonprofits are thrilled to have 3 months or 6 months. But do you have, is there sort of a long-range plan to spend that down, or what's the intent? And I know as a finance committee member, I have no authority or no reason to ask that question. It's just curiosity as someone who's contributed through my Abington cable to the fund.
If
Well, it's a very good, I'm sorry.
Lisa, do you want to take this?
Yes, it's a very good question. And so as I said, our plan is definitely to remodel the town hall. The equipment hasn't been upgraded in quite some time. I believe it's been about 8 or 10 years now since it was upgraded. So that would be probably $40,000 to $60,000 at least right there. And the thing is that even though oh geez, can you see me? I just went black here. Even though we have that money in the bank, the franchise fee revenues have been steadily declining, and with people cutting the cord, we can't depend on this 268,000. I mean, even last year it was 274,000. So we can't depend on that. And a lot of cable access studios actually have to fundraise to pay their bills. So we're fortunate that unfortunately, I guess, the studio hasn't been fully staffed over the years. We're more fully staffed now. Other studios locally do about 1 full-time employee for every $100,000 of income. Not that they pay the employee that much, but for every 100,000 they take in, they have 1 full-time staffer. So take in 250, they'd have 2.5 full-time, 2.5 staffers. So we're expecting that at some point that just to pay our annual expenses, we will have to dip into the money in the bank. And when that happens, it won't last forever. So we're not hoping for that, but it's looking more and more likely.
If I can
Matt,
interject,
Matt, could I say something too?
Absolutely, Bob.
Chris, my feeling is that there's over $1 million in the bank, and we would expect to continually upgrade the technology. That's the key to a good
Yes.
cable TV service for the community, is that the technology has to be continually changed. And ultimately, I would like to see that $1 million actually move back into the community, into our town books, so that we can keep track of it. But it's a good question, and that's where we need to go, I think. And thanks a lot for the question.
So if I could just say that when the the enterprise fund was established in 2019, the town did not vote to put the money from the private corporation into the fund. That would have had to have been a vote at the time, and the town did not vote to do that. So that's part of the reason that the private corporation still has its money in the bank, is that money earned before the start of the enterprise fund stayed with the corporation, and money since the start of the enterprise fund goes into the enterprise fund.
Right, Chris, that's just one opinion of one director of the board. There are 5 of us.
Okay. All right, I just feel like, you could almost not charge for 4 years and.
Absolutely.
So they have no
Yeah, the
control over whether there's a
Comcast
charge or not.
and Verizon control the franchise fees, and that's a contractually negotiated percentage. The town actually holds the license.
So that makes sense, but it just seems odd to me, as having worked in a lot of nonprofits, to have this reserve fund.
if I can I just step in just for half a second here?
Sure.
I would strongly suggest any member on this board reach out to some of the other local access centers, neighboring Whitman Hanson, East Bridgewater, PAC TV. Ask them what they might have for funding and what they go through when it comes to providing services. It's not unheard of to have a little capital funding in the bank and for it to be diversified for these expenses. This equipment is not cheap. It's not something you can go to Walmart and buy. This is specialty items that you need to purchase, and you need to have an engineer come in and install, and those costs are incurred. So I understand the concern, but as it's also been indicated here, we're seeing a steady drop in folks who are subscribing to Comcast and Verizon, and eventually we're going to have to find a new revenue stream in order to be able to maintain providing, showing these finance committee meetings, selectmen's meetings, stuff like that. So just
Chris, can I tell you that I am a CPA, and we have over $1 million, so we're going to be able to sufficiently support everything for a long time.
Yeah, so I understand. I'm not questioning that. And like I said, from the town standpoint, my role as finance committee member, I have no complaints about anything you're doing. Cam's doing a great job, as everyone said. It's just,
Thank you.
I'd like to figure out, I'd like to hear at some point, not as a town, just as a person who's contributed to that fund, I assume that eventually, as you get a better handle on this, you'll have a plan for how that $1 million can be spent eventually.
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Barbara?
Deb, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. That was a good point about that's why I was asking about the capital, because it would, from a budgeting standpoint, it would be a dangerous situation to get into, using that savings for your operating budget, because it's non-recurring, which is why I had asked about the capital. I think it's good just just in the interest of transparency, being able to hear like you were saying, you want to look at the, what it would cost to redo the Carter room. And so those are all great things to hear and just very transparent to know what as a cable customer, what my fees are going to. So I do appreciate being able to know what's in the account and what looking ahead for capital items are. I definitely hope that we don't ever get into a situation where you're having to fund your operating budget through your savings. But I also know that, at
Should
now,
never happen, Barbara.
Did you say that you guys were filing for a 503C or?
The 501c3?
Yep.
We have filed for that. That is, well, the IRS has gotten back to us a couple times and we're waiting for their final determination letter on that. That will allow us to continue not to have to pay income tax, I'm sorry, on the revenues we do receive from Comcast and Verizon. The IRS has told me that so far they've been treating us as if we were a 501c3, but the previous board of directors never actually filed the Form 1023 paperwork for that. I found it in the drawer. They had a couple of chances. The corporation was formed in 2009, so that gave them 27 months until 2012, and then the IRS extended it again to 2015. And for whatever reason, I found the 2015 paperwork in the drawer. It was never filed, but our current accountant has filed it, and we're waiting to hear back. We sent last April, we sent some tax returns that the IRS had requested again, and we've been waiting since last April to hear back from them. Hoping to hear back soon. The accountant did speak to them about 40 days ago, and they told us at the time that we should hear in 45 to 60 days. So we're waiting to hear about that. But so far, they're treating us as if we are tax exempt, and we've gotten some positive feedback from them. So we're expecting that they will finally grant that soon.
Yeah, and if you remember, that's what I was asking last year with it not being there. And because it's now under the town or whatever, because we have to deal with some of this stuff, or at least having you guys in the meetings, whereas before that didn't need to happen. My bigger concern was, are there any issues if Abington hadn't done that for the last, since 2012? Like, could anything come back on us? Is there any sort of issue with that?
No.
No, it's all about the corporation and the income taxes.
No,
If
Chris,
the
the town of Abington is a 501c3(1), so it does not affect. It's totally different paragraph.
right, it's all about the corporation and our tax returns. It's got nothing to do with the Comcast and Verizon franchise fees.
I think what Greg is asking is if they don't approve you for the 504, is there, and where they are currently treating you like you are, and so they're not tax, it's possible that they could come back and back charge you for the years that you didn't have the start.
It is possible, but so far, actually, from 2009 and 10, there were a couple of tax bills that the previous board that did not address that had accumulated interest and penalties. That was about, I think, $16,000 for the two of them together. And the IRS did forgive those. And that was part of the process, is that we sent in the Form 1023 to request the 501c3. They forgave those 2 years of interest and penalties. And in the mix somewhere, we had sent them copies of some of the years of tax returns from 2012 going forward. I don't recall specifically which years, but there were, I believe, 2 years of tax returns that were copies and not the originals.
Mhm.
And so they had requested the originals and revoked the 501c3 until they got them. So that's what we mailed out last April, and we've been waiting since April to hear back from them.
Just so you know, we're still not a 501c3. It's not our
Right.
problem. The IRS sent everybody home because of COVID. And we have filed all our tax returns, but if you went on and looked, they would tell you that we're not a 501c3. But
Right.
we're just waiting
Our
to
tax
make-
returns are current.
Yeah, all the returns are filed. We're just
Mhm.
waiting. But they were filed as
Lots of
paper
waiting.
returns, and today no one's looking at paper returns.
Yeah, we were not able to file them electronically at the time because of the way the deadline worked for the year. They had told our accountant that if we filed electronically, we would miss the deadline, and so we sent them by mail, and so we wait.
I can't let that go, but we were able to file them electronically, but the accountant advised us incorrectly.
Okay. So we mailed them anyway, regardless,
That's why
and we
we're not
wait.
501c3
They
yet.
have acknowledged receipt of them. We're
Yes.
just waiting to hear back. It's different departments within the IRS that
Well,
that we're waiting to
everything
hear
this
from.
paper goes into another room, and someday they're gonna look at it.
That's the hope.
Yep,
Government at its finest.
but there should be no exposure to the town at this point.
No,
All we-
no,
Right.
It would be, I just was thinking that, could it come back on Abington Cam to have to,
It should
back
not.
to for, years that without the certification?
If they decided not to grant the 501c3 at all, but they actually did grant it, and it said right in the determination letter that because they didn't receive the original tax returns for those 2 years, that it would be revoked, but we didn't have to file the Form 1023 to request it again because they acknowledged that we had sent them. They were just waiting for the originals.
Any other questions? Looks like we're good.
Anything budget-wise?
The budget looks pretty straightforward to me, I think.
Awesome.
Anybody else have questions budget-wise?
My only question is with all the money in the bank, I know that one of the things I think you read off was that we have so much money, but we were also very much understaffed. Are we looking to staff it appropriately going forward so we don't have that issue with whatever issue you're talking about with it being understaffed?
Well, we've budgeted $155,000 for this year, and that is 2 full-time employees and 2 part-time employees. Oh yeah, plus the interns. So
We think.
we're fairly fully staffed. And if there were other needs, it would definitely come out of the 20,000.
And what did we have in the years that we weren't staffed?
What, employee-wise, you mean?
Yeah, like how many people?
We had one full-time employee and couple different people that worked. One person was paid $800 one year, and that was fairly typical.
Russ, as a member of the board of directors, again, I'm only one member of 5, but that money in the bank is going to be used going forward for capital improvements and not to supplement the budget.
Oh, definitely.
I'm only asking,
Definitely.
it was mentioned that it was understaffed for a long time, so I didn't know if you needed to bring on 4 more people or what.
Oh, it doesn't matter. The money in the bank is going to be used for capital improvements to make sure that we have the high-level electronic TV system that we need.
Any further questions? See a bunch of heads shaking. Lisa, Bob, Kevin, thank you very much for all of the
Thank you.
information. Thank
Thank
you
you
for
for
the
inviting me.
work that you're doing.
Thank you.
I know we're in a much better place overall than we were last year from everything that I've heard. we are in a much better place than we were before you guys took over as a board.
Thank
So
you.
excellent work. Please keep it up. And
Thank you very much.
thank you for your time tonight.
Okay,
Thank you, Matt.
all right,
Good night.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching.
Absolutely. All right, moving on, we get to town departments. Let me share the screen again. Town manager, town office departments. I didn't say that right the first time.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, Sue, we can
All
hear
right.
you.
So I'm gonna go with this one. We'll start with the selectmen's salaries.
This is the money because everybody asks, this is not money we are paying to the selectmen.
Correct. And you know what? It still says selectmen's salary, but I think I changed the actual department to manager's office, but I didn't change the, anyway, yeah, I need to fix that. So, for the selectmen's salaries, you have your part-time admin assistant, which she also does conservation and ZBA. And at some point, we're hoping to make that position a full-time position. So that the selectmen's office can have the services that they need without having to share with other departments. Then you have your part-time human resources assistant, which before Scott got there, Leanne was given that duty, and she's been doing all of the new hires, paperwork, and updating personnel codes and things like that. The town manager's salary is just the increase that was included in his contract. And the admin assistant has a 2-week vacation buyback. 1 week, sorry, 1 week. So the auditing and accounting budget hasn't changed for the next year, but we are due to sign a new contract with them for the following year. So that might change going forward. The next several items have not changed. Your other purchase services is 42,000. So just so you guys know, that includes the landfill capping or monitoring for right now. There is a schedule if you want me to send it to you for reference, but there is a schedule that landfill capping is also going to, monitoring is going to become capping. And so we're going to have a warrant article a couple years from now that's going to require us to cap it, which is going to cost a lot more than $42,000.
So we've talked about this in past years. I don't know how many people watching remember or how many people on the committee remember. But I assume that when we actually cap it, the yearly maintenance fee will go away? Question mark.
I saw some fees beyond that, but I don't know if it was for maybe follow-up after the capping. So I can send you the schedule and it'll give you everything there. I think it goes out beyond 2026. But I can send that to you if you want to discuss it again at the next meeting or revisit it.
I think for the purpose of the FY22 budget, I think we're pretty set. I'm just thinking for future. I know that it'll cost a lot of money to cap it, but how long have we been paying the $42,000 or so a year?
Since I've been there. As long as I've known, we've been doing money every year. We had that warrant article for a long time that I want to say it was like $300,000, and we drew down on that for a long time, and then we didn't have that to draw down on it anymore. So I believe it was last year we finally put it in the budget.
And so just looking at the long term, just so that we have it out there, and I'm not holding you to any figure, but can you remind me of some of the figures that we have thrown around in the past for the cost to cap it?
If you want to give me a second, I can actually look it up. and then we can go forward in the budget while I'm looking it up.
Matt, and to answer your question, I think we asked that same question last year, and I think the answer was you have to pay it forever kind of deal. I thought I remembered that.
There's a monitoring of it forever,
Yeah.
but that big number of when we're actually capping it.
All right, so it's just a monitor number that's forever.
Yes.
I remember something about that being said. So that was,
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if the monitoring would be less with it capped than what we have to spend for it to be monitored now. So if
I want
while-
to, there was some kind of financial benefit after having it capped.
yeah,
I
that's what
recollect.
it's what I would expect, but might take a while to see the return on investment.
Okay, so hang on, I might not have the right report. Yeah, I just have what it's costing.
That's okay. You can.
Yeah,
get that
I
to
can send it
us.
to you and we can discuss it again at the next
Yeah.
meeting. But anyway,
So-
that's a big ticket item right there and it's gonna get bigger.
Thank you.
And the dues and fees budget is, we got Sausage that we pay $4,500 a year to help us with highway department procurement processes. And then membership fees and things like that, MMA and things like that, so we can keep updated on what's. And I'm not sure if you guys have this in order that I have it. So the next, after cable, we have the legal retainer,
Yep.
which we're not changing for next year, but you can see that we're already at 50% of our budget, almost 50% of our budget right now. So we don't expect that to be any less. And then when we get to town office buildings, the original requested was for 48. We were hoping to get a building and maintenance supervisor for the town, town hall, town library, maybe even COA, but our funding is limited. So we went back to the original number just to cover the staff that cleans the town hall and the library. Senior Center currently cleans their own building and so do most of the other buildings. So, but we're not getting any ground maintenance, or if there's something that happens to the building, it's whoever's on staff, whether it's Scott, myself, or Wayne, that we take care of whatever needs to be taken care of, whoever's available, whoever has the most knowledge about it. So we were hoping to get a building person.
So that's when the budget is growing again item.
Right.
Good to know.
And everything else is pretty much the same. Town reports and printing of
Building and maintenance repair.
building and maintenance repair.
Looks like that went from 30,000 to
Oh,
45,000.
okay. So the 30,000 that we had in there was basically for like licenses for having the elevator inspected and having the fire extinguishers inspected and things like that. And we never had anything more. So if we need, like, we actually have lights that are out in the town hall that are not accessible to us. We need to have an electrician come in and we don't have money for that. So it's things that may come up. We might not need it, but it's things within the building, plumbing issues that we've had in the past. So it's things that I've noticed over the last couple of years where I've stepped in as, working in the building and taking care of the building more so than just doing my accounting duties, that the money hasn't been there if something happens. So that's kind of like, just a contingency thing. If we do need to replace a toilet or something like that, we don't have the money for that. So that's why I increased that.
Can I-
Okay, Chris?
The line above it, and this is something I've seen in all these budgets, the fuel oil budget appropriation, and I think you've explained it before, but I forget. It looks like it's not being used, but is it showing up somewhere else, or is it just?
So the fuel and oil budget is for winter heating, and so, but if we don't need it because we have a mild winter, then we don't use it. I would actually like, and Scott and I have talked about it, to take the police department, the fire department, the COA, the library, and do the same thing that we did with electricity, and put it all in one line item. Because
Right, I don't want to do it either.
I think, there we go.
Sue may have had to mute
Did I
for something
just-
going on.
did I mute myself?
You did,
Yeah.
yes.
All right.
Sorry.
We thought
Sorry.
it was an incident.
So we were talking about doing the same thing with the fuel and oil that we did with the electricity, and take it out of all of the departments' budgets, with the exception of the schools, and put it in that line item. So that we can pay it out of one account. But again, this is a winter kind of thing. We might not have gotten our December bill yet, or January bill. That's why there's not a lot of money spent out of it. And it has been a pretty much mild winter when it comes to cold. We've only been cold, what, 3 weeks in a row. So
It's just that several of the budgets have shown a number like this, $700 spent out of 15,000 budgeted.
right.
It just, you know,
And
I don't know at what point this cutoff is, like you said, Bill, just something to look at. If you-
And I know you have asked for in the past, and I can actually do a history back to 2018 before we changed our software, and see what we've done on this for the past couple of years. But I know it has spiked and it has dropped. So we try to keep it at the level funded, what we budgeted. These numbers haven't gone up or gone down as a budgeted number over the years. It matters whether or not it's what the weather's like, and how much fuel we need.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna think about.
It's
Thank you.
definitely something we've talked about.
Yeah.
The town reports and printing is the same. And then we have our North River Collaborative. And that again also fluctuates depending on the amount of students that are requiring resources that they are getting reimbursement for from the state. So we do have an offset of revenue on that for Medicaid reimbursement. But North River Collaborative does all the work for us, so it depends on the amount of students, and we never know the amount of students that are going to be needing the services in that particular year. So that it's level from last year, but it has gone up. I want to say like 3 years ago, it was $5,000 that we spent, and now, you know, we've already spent $4 in a school year where we've had COVID and we've had part-time students. So
Yeah.
it has gone up well below, well above the $15,000 range at some point in the last couple of years. And finally, we have the liability insurance, and we never get the final number on that until early May, late May. We don't even have the final number from them until after we go to town meeting. So we try to keep that at a number just in case our workman's comp claims go up, any of our other liability claims, you know, car accidents, anything that happens within the town, you know, potholes that crack somebody's tire or whatever. So that number has been pretty level over the last couple of years. And the reason you're seeing the 842 on what was allocated for FY21 is because at the end of the year last year, we had extra money in there to help transfer into departments that needed the extra money for other expenses. So the 842 is not correct. That 904 has been the number that we've been carrying for at least the last 4 years.
I was gonna say, I thought I remembered that being around 9,000.
Yeah.
900,000,
Yeah.
not 9,000. 900,000, fairly kind of year to year. Chris, did you have a question there?
No, and she answered my question
Okay.
before I asked.
Anybody have questions? Nobody? Nothing?
I
I'm all
am good.
So you do run a tight ship, so.
Thank you.
So I'll ask my usual question. Oh wait, Barbara, were you gonna ask something?
No, I was just saying, thanks for your time. So we appreciate it.
Yes, very much so.
You're welcome.
My usual question, how are things looking as of this exact moment in time as far as balancing the budget?
We're getting so much closer. So what are we about? We're just under 400,000.
I think it's a little over that, Scott. I think it's kind of like closer to 5,
Okay.
but we do have places that we can discuss to see where we can come in closer. But we'll say we're still discussing it.
Yeah. We're still seeing, the schools haven't landed yet with what we want. At least I don't think so. So yeah, we're still off on our revenues, revenue estimates from last year, or revenues coming in this year rather, are still down. Every time I think we get a snowstorm from here on in, it's going to cost us right off that. It's just going to put us further into a deficit.
Knocking on wood, let's hope that.
Hope it's all over.
Let's hope it's heading in the direction of.
Last time someone said that, didn't we get a blizzard?
No, the last time that somebody said that, we did not. But there definitely have been times in the past where people have said that, and we did.
Yeah.
Which is why I have not finished my sentence. Having grown up a Red Sox fan before 2004, I know not to say things that I don't want said.
We have some encouraging news, I think, though, and now that assuming the president signs the bill on Friday, there is money in the new federal bill, this package, that will go to municipalities.
It's good to hear.
It could flush out to somewhere, and these are just sort of real preliminary numbers, to somewhere around, 1.5 million, 1.6 million for the town of Abington. It's over a 2-year period, so that if it happens to be a payment in about 90 days, and then another one this time next year, a certain portion of it, unlike the last round of funding, a certain portion of this will be able to be used for revenue replacement. So we would be able to use it to fill our gap, whatever it flushes out to be at the end. I do think at some point we'll have to have the conversation, though, of if that's not here or not going to be here in time, that we're probably going to have to use reserve money to some extent. I think we were careful to put a lot of it into reserves last year with the anticipation that this could happen.
That was the goal.
Yeah. So
the goal was to put it in and not have to use it, but if we do have to use it, that's why we put it in there.
It doesn't get more rainy day than this. So
We can always replace it should we get as we get the money later.
Yeah, that's my sentiments exactly. And I'm fairly optimistic going into the next fiscal year, that if things trend the way they are going now, our revenue should come back on target. Meals tax, excise tax. If the banks still give out money like they've been giving it out, then, housing will still get built and I do expect the new revenue. I do think that we will have a minimum of 2 of the marijuana facilities online, so there will be some revenue there. I don't believe it will be millions of dollars, Greg. I think it will be.
I'm just waiting for somebody to tell me that there's been millions of dollars.
I don't believe it'll be millions. I've never been one to go on record as saying millions. But I do actually think there'll be a couple.
Greg is
hundred
assuming that with the amount that he spends at the 2 stores, that it should be millions.
Just in the glass work alone. Quick question. Having less money in savings, you guys call it something different. Does that hurt us to go to borrow? Because I remember bond ratings, things like that, like having less in there, it looks like we're going to have less in the bank this year. Does that hurt us at all?
Well, it's one thing that they look at, but I don't think it'll hurt us because we put a fairly robust amount in there last year, and you have good reserves. You guys historically, just from what I've seen, you've been really good about it. You haven't touched them and you've built them up. So I don't expect it will hurt us. No. And again, it's not like we're looking for a lot. In a manager meeting that I've had with the other South Shore towns, at least in this area, 50% of the towns, 60% of the towns are or have used reserves last year and will use them again. Almost all of them. The ones that haven't, were pretty close to doing it, or they had furloughs, or they had layoffs, like Rockland did, to avoid doing that. So they've had reductions in services. We haven't had any reduction. We've been keeping up. We've been providing services. We've been providing, everybody's still out there working, and there's been really no downtime for us. So I think that's a good thing. I think it's what the town deserves. So that being said, we may end up having to, go into that reserve a bit.
Yeah, I just remember somebody explaining it previously that we didn't have a certain amount. Our borrowing rate would change, or our bond rating would change, whatever. That was I was just concerned with that.
Yeah, when I handed out, I think at the Capital Committee, we handed out the financial policies that we still haven't gotten to this committee yet, but we will. And within the financial policies that we're looking to adopt, it does suggest there are certain thresholds that you want to maintain in your reserves compared to what your operating budget is. And I think we're there, we're healthy, so, and I think we'll still be there. I don't think, considering what we had put away last year, and then there is going to be money coming, and it will be able to be used for revenue replacement. So it will, we will be able to put it back in if we didn't get it by the end of the year.
Thank you.
Sue's waving her magic finger, so she's.
I am, right? So I found the information. No, baby. I found the information from the Sanborn and Heed about the landfill compliance. So in 2022, it's 34,500. In 2023, the assessment is going to be 139. The 2024, the design and permit is 400,000, and the capping construction is $3.5 million. So that's the progress of what they're doing. So by 2025 is when you're going to be spending that huge amount of money, probably going out to borrow to cap the landfill.
Definitely something we want to keep on the radar because we have issues with old fire departments and the highway building. So good to know. Thank you, Sue. I appreciate you looking that up.
And I'll actually forward it to you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. I'll pass that around. Other questions regarding the current state of the budget? All right. Back at our agenda, do we have any liaison reports? Does not look like it. Correspondence? Deb?
I didn't
Nothing.
see anything.
All right. And review of minutes. I believe that we did not vote on the minutes that we had at last meeting. Deb, is
We
that
did not.
correct?
224.
So hang on while I call those back up. Not finding them. Was it the minutes from
224.
24th? I'm not finding my copy of them. Anyway, we did have minutes from the February 24th meeting. Does everyone get to review them?
Yes.
Does anyone have anything to bring up or discuss? Any motions?
Motion to approve?
Correct.
It's a
I think that-
motion to, I believe Barbara seconded that, but she was breaking up a little bit.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, Matt. I wasn't sure if I was at that meeting.
I don't have mine in front of me.
Hang on, I'm trying to check. I'm trying
I'm a-
to,
On my email, have issues with my phone, so if somebody,
my email is minutes. There we go. Second, let me download these and present it.
It looks like Barbara was excused on February 24th.
thanks, Russ.
You're welcome.
So we have Chris with the motion to approve,
Second,
second by Russ. Hold on one second. I'm shared. There we go. Now we can see them. So Barbara and Justin not allowed to vote. Still leaves us with only 4 people who can vote.
Yeah,
So we'll, are the motioner and seconder willing to retract their motion? Chris, you're on mute.
I retract my second.
okay, got it.
I'll retract.
All right.
Thank you.
So we'll bring those back up again when we have enough people to review them. All right, next week, and I will share again real quickly. Next week is our next meeting. As earlier mentioned, we are in fact meeting on St. Patrick's Day. I know, and I apologize. But we will have the IT department, the Veterans Department, the library, and the fire department. Departments that were originally scheduled for our first department meeting when I was delinquent and did not get the agenda posted in time. My apologies on that. So, but that is our schedule for next week, March 17th, St. Patrick's Day. We will meet right here on Zoom. Anyone who wants to join, just shoot me an email and let me know, and I can get you the Zoom link. Barbara?
Oh, I was just fixing my screen.
Yeah. I saw your finger going up. I thought it was that you had something to do. So with that, does anyone have anything else for tonight?
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
I have a motion to adjourn and a second. Is there any discussion? Without any, all those in favor of adjourning? All those opposed? Abstaining? Greg is turning his camera on so he can approve adjourning.
Thank you.
We are adjourned. It is unanimous. Thank you all very much, and we will see you next week.
thank